All right, welcome back. Scott Carr, founder of Aviate Youth, and great to be with you here once again with my free training. All right, so last time we talked about the mind and specifically your unconscious mind and the power that it has in your day-to-day. The fact that it determines 95 to 98% of your thinking, of your behaviors, and of course your results. And that the only way that you can really change that reality, if you want to improve your situation, improve your grades, improve your performance level, is to tap into the power of your conscious mind. This is not some far-out terminology. This is something that I believe everyone should know. I mean, everyone should have this knowledge. That's one of the motivations why I've created this thought leadership, is this should just be common knowledge. And because it's not, I feel compelled to share it with you. All right, let's move on to this training, which is about our thoughts. Okay, and it's really important as well, and it fits right into the topics of belief and our mind. And so why thoughts? Well, again, it's something you probably take for granted. Things that are free to us, things that naturally occur, we tend to devalue them. In a very material world where we feel better about sometimes when we buy things, our thoughts we take for granted. But the fact is, really, we become what we think about. I'll say that again. More than any other factor in your performance level right now, whether it's academic or athletic or personal, your thoughts around those areas are what you become. They completely impact where you're at, okay, moment to moment, with respect to your academics and your performance. Okay. Again, where do these thoughts come from? They come basically from our subconscious. And you learned last time that if your subconscious mind was formed where there was conflict, or where there was violence, or there was values that don't tend to help us as human beings, you're going to be having to offset that throughout your life. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? If you really think back, it's a bit unfair because you can't remember everything that happened to you between the ages of 0 and 6, but that's a fact. But it's really important to understand that when you have conscious thought, which allows you to be able to forecast, be able to plan, believe in a better set of circumstances for yourself, that's where the growth takes place. All right? That's why we're spending time on this here today. All right. Now, again, before we get into these quadrants, I'm going to say it one more time. This is an important topic because more than any other factor, you are becoming your thoughts. You're just not aware of it. And your thoughts, you take them for granted, you have them anyway, but you're becoming the reality of your thoughts. That's why I truly believe when we have some shocking circumstances that take place, maybe an episode of violence, the reason it's so shocking and we don't understand and don't anticipate that it's going to happen is we don't know that individual's private thoughts. We don't know how much they've been thinking about it, planning it, and eventually they act it out. Similarly, it's very hard to predict teams or successes because we're not sure how determined people are in terms of what their thoughts are. They're private. That's why people are hard to read, and that's why we have surprising things happen more than any other factor, I believe. All right. Now, in my thought grid, I have two axes. One is a positive axis, positive thoughts or negative thoughts. And in this axis, we have degree of control of the situation you're thinking about. Do you have control over it or not? This is high control with a positive, and this is low control with a negative. All right, let's look at quadrant number 4, which is the negative thought area for situations that we're thinking about that we can't really control the outcome. And what do we get there? Really, again, I've used this before. This is my terminology to help you think beyond your present state. This is where you definitely have the lowest life trajectory when you're dealing with thoughts in that area. All right? And we attract our circumstances. Okay? So negative thinking about things that we can't truly control will attract circumstances in our life that are negative, will attract people in our life that are negative, because what we're thinking and how we're rolling definitely attracts us to circumstances and people. There's no two ways about it. All right, let's move up to situations where, in quadrant 3, where we have a fairly high degree of control over the outcome, relatively speaking, but our thoughts are still inherently negative, maybe because of our subconscious mind and how we spent our first 6 years in that environment. All right, in this quadrant, we have negative thinking, which leads to negative results. Sound familiar? I know a lot of people that are negative. It's a negative society that we live in. Media tends to be negative. It tends to be reinforced. It's easier somehow. But in this quadrant, negative thinking leads to negative results. We are what we think about, and that's clearly the case here. Also, more troubling is when we have negative thoughts, even in situations that we have a higher degree of control over, we are prone to what I'm calling a victim mindset. One of my gurus, Brendan Bouchard, talks about the victim mindset. People thinking that the world is happening to them, that they don't have control over it and over their circumstances. And with negative thinking tends to come a victim mindset. All right, fine. Let's move over to quadrant number 2, where we still have a low degree of control over the situation that we're thinking about, but our thoughts are fairly positive. Where are we operating there? Well, this is sort of the fantasy realm. Okay, this is where that happens, and that line of thinking also is where we become truly naive. Okay, naive people live there. They're not in touch with reality. They're good people, they're positive people, but they're not grounded in reality. Okay, so that's quadrant. So clearly, again, I'm suggesting that we want to be in quadrant number 1, okay, where we have positive thoughts and spending time with our thinking over circumstances that we can control. That's where the high performers are, and that certainly has the highest life trajectory. So moment to moment, this takes discipline. It takes understanding that we become our thoughts, and it takes the knowledge that your conscious mind can put you there. It takes a lot of work. That's where we have the highest life trajectory, and that's where we get what Brendan Bouchard calls the causal agency mindset, meaning we have control over our destiny. We truly believe that if we work hard, we apply ourselves, we have faith and persistence, that we can achieve better grades. We can achieve a better performance, maybe win a championship if you haven't. Break 90 in math or science if you haven't done it. This is where it happens. But we need to be thinking positively, all right, over circumstances that we can control. Okay? Really, I hope this served you today. I hope you understand that our thoughts, that we are what we tend to think about all day long, and we tend to fall into one of these categories. And where we want to be is in quadrant number 1.